Welcome to Archer's Garage, and today we're going to be working on a HUSQAVRNISH. It's got a stuck valve. It's a mess. We got a lot of stuff to do on this thing, so we're going to kind of walk through me figuring out what the heck was wrong with it and how to fix it. Now, I just want to mention, I don't know if they're still doing, manufacturers are still doing this, but maybe some of you guys have noticed. You look at a box and it says, "Don't change your oil, just add." Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that through the video, but also at the end I'm going to explain a little bit why I think that this is actually happening, why manufacturers are doing this to the best of my knowledge, and maybe what you guys could do to, if you find a nice machine. This is a nice machine, so if you find something like this, like I did, and you want to kind of bring it back and figure out what the heck's wrong with it, this is the video for you guys. So let's get started. We got a lot of work to do. See you guys in a bit. Check this out. It's a HUSQAVRNISH. HUSQAVRNISH. I know, it's bad. Craftsman. Basically, he doesn't have a bag, so Mikey says Craftsman bag. Yeah, it's set up. It's Craftsman. It is a Craftsman with some HUSQAVRNISH stuff. Styling, right? It should be pretty good. It's all-wheel drive. It's a four-wheeler, right? Four-wheel peel. Let's check it out. Let's dig into it. All right, let's see what our compression is. I think you guys are going to see it. Am I going to see it? Let me see. What? Nothing. Yeah. I got nothing. Let's try putting a thumb over it. You know those, oh, I got nothing, bro. I think we got a stuck valve. I guess we'll pull the head. Now, most of the time, when you go to pull these bolts out, right, they'll break. So we're gonna just kind of go by hand and try to break them free and see what goes on. I just checked the oil. It is sticky like you would not believe. It is just varnish. There's a ring up around there. It's not oil, it's glue. It's like grease. I don't know what this guy did. My guess is that the valves are stuck. So if we try to take the head off, good chance that it's just gonna break one of the bolts. Let's go in through here, right? I'm gonna pop this off. Yeah, look at all the goo. We'll get in a little closer. All right, we're gonna do another test. I'm gonna put more of this in, but so that it doesn't leak out, we'll put the plug, just hand by hand, and that'll force some of that liquid all around, exhaust and everything, and the valves and the cylinder. Now we're going to put a little oil in. Let's spin it up a little bit more. And then we'll do another compression test. And if I get a reading, then it's not valves. Put a bunch of oil in there. This motor might be dead because the oil wasn't changed, but what's really odd is that the oil is so thick and sticky. It's like, what did they put in here? Yeah, something's going on. All right, let's pull the head. Again, we're going to start off with just see if we can loosen them up. Now, usually the exhaust side is loose. Okay, that was pretty loose. Okay. No problem there. You don't want to start off with one of them impact wrenches. That one's not bad. Okay, now I'm going to set up the impact and we'll buzz them all off. That was a nice long one. That was weird, right? It's got all those threads. It's got extra washers. think they ran out of bolts. I would not be surprised. Hey, Mac, go down to the hardware store and get a few more. Sometimes we can get it out in one piece, but a lot of times no. Some of it's stuck to the head. Oh, gasket ripped a little bit right over here. Actually, not that bad. In the firing area, it's okay. Oh, yeah. Alright. Oh, the valves look like they're closed, but I see something that looks like it might be a big score. I'll get you guys in a minute. Let me wipe it up. Well, I don't feel anything. Let me get it up. See this? See all that oil? It didn't even seal here. But this head might be warped. It might not have even tightened down. So I think I see something in there, but I'm not feeling it with my fingernail. So it may not be that bad. I think if we clean up ahead, put another gasket on, I mean, you might even just be able to get away with tightening it. But I think I have another one of these gaskets. This is where a used gasket is a great idea because you can test it. We can't resurface this surface too much, but we can resurface ahead and make sure it's flat. So let me get you in close so that you can see what's in there. But that I can't feel that. And I don't see anything up underneath. I'll get in there closer, but I can't really show you that because everything's in the way. But I think we could try cleaning this all off. Those valves look clean. That exhaust valve is clean. This happened early on. You can tell by the overall condition. I don't know. I'm not really feeling anything. I say we clean it. Get out the wire wheel, clean it, and I'll clean off the head. There's a lot of caking all around here on the other side. So I'll probably bring it back out for a nice super clean session. This might work. Let me just check in here. All right, we want to see if it spun a crank. No, it didn't spin a crank. I'll show you that in a little bit. So it didn't spin the crank. I think it just poor assembly, and I'm not trusting those bolts either. I'll dig out some Briggs bolts. It looks really good. Like I said, this is low hours. Yeah, we'll get that in a little bit. I gotta get in here too. Some of that will come off with the super clean. As long as we get the super clean back out. The oil on the cylinders will protect the cylinders. I just want to get in here a little bit because there's the gum that's in this. What the heck did they do? I know a lot of these machines, right, what they tell you at Home Depot is never change the oil, right? Never change the oil. So people think don't add oil. It says never change it, just add oil, but they just think you just, I don't know. I'm getting angry now. All right, let me clean that. Just want to get this ridge. It seems to be better. Now, what we can do now, I'll try to run a wire wheel around that. I'm going to switch tools, I think, just to get all the gook out of there. All right, with it open all the way, just a pass. I don't want to damage it, but you know, you got to decarbonize it. I have another one I can try too. It's more of like a brass, I think. Let's try this guy. Not bad. All right. We'll rinse it out. Now that's what the hose is going to be for, right? We're getting all this carbon, this yuck, this stink. Well, you can put the hose in here and rinse it. No, we're not going to do that. We're all going to use used motor oil, good used motor oil. And this, I think I'm going to try something different. That's like burned on there. I don't know, I don't think it's going to work. It's a little smaller, it's kind of deep. Uh-oh, is it stuck? Yeah, it's stuck, look. Oh my God. Hope I didn't bend it. It's sticky as hell. Let me get some lubricant in there. Put some Croil in. We might even want to take the intake tube off. Look, that's another reason. See? Look, it's sticking. That's this muck oil. I think we need to put some used motor oil in right now, right, as we're moving it around, to start, you know, cleaning it up and see what happens. Let me get on that, because that's stuck. Right? That's not going to work. Look at that. So, with the intake valve open, see, she's trying to close. Yeah, I think we're going to have to fill this tube up. Oh, look, it closed. I walked away and it started to close on its own. I don't want to damage the seat. And sometimes if you do that, I'll get you in closer in a little bit, but it's disgusting in here, and I'm going to pour a whole bunch of this fuel. It's a mix of fuel and tranny fluid, and that should loosen it up over time. I hate to have to take the valve out, but it's bad. It doesn't want to go back down. Yeah, oh my goodness. That oil is so sticky. Usually you see this on an old motor from like the 40s and 50s or something. All right, let's see what's in here. We may have to take the valve out to clean it. But either way, we're going to be hosing this thing down with Super Clean. Might have to put gasoline in the engine. A bit of gasoline in here, mixed with some oil. This is so crunchy. The carbon level is the gasket. Good, it came out. Usually they break. The carbon level in this is so bad. It's unbelievable. You can use kerosene too, but hold on. You're better off with gas at this point. Right? It's the only thing. Put like, I don't know, a cup of gas, slosh that around, then put some oil in, you know, let the gas sit first. Move it around like we're doing maybe with the drill. It's not too bad. We'll get that cleaned up. We got the gasket. I'll show you in here. Let me set you up. All right, I'm going to start off with about, this is a 10-ounce cup, about halfway full. Gasoline. It's so sticky. Look at that. I'm barely holding on to it. It's thin too, so it'll get in everything. We'll dump that. There's nothing in there to dump out. It won't come out. May have to leave it sit overnight. Okay. See, look at the mung in here. That's all varnish. Wow, it's like, that's not oil, that's grease. It's more like gorilla snot. A little bit of Croil on that. See, now the exhaust is going okay. So she pushes in, and it's the lifter that's getting stuck. It's back here. That's what's getting stuck. It's not the valve. It's the lifter. That's in the motor too. Yeah, that spring should be able to push her back right away. I don't know what to say about that. We may have to slosh this around. I just started spinning this over, and boy, I could tell, right? And all of a sudden started to pick up speed. Told you it was stiff. Oh, splash, there you go. Feels a little, it's getting better, but that's splashing all of the gasoline up. Yeah, I think we might be able to put some more gas in here and splash it around a little bit longer. I can't get that back on. It's just everything is sticking. I'm gonna spin this over and put some more stuff down in here and just try to keep working it and spin it. Yeah, it's starting to spin faster. All right, so let's put some more of this solvent. And I add a little bit of good used motor oil in. We'll spin it a little bit longer, and then I'm going to dump what's in there. It's splashing up because I left the cap off a little bit and it went all over. So, see how it's starting to move? All right, so now it's open. Now we should see it starting to close on its own. See? It's just starting to. So I think if we do another run of gas, we got to get out what's in there. See, there it goes. It can't handle the speed. The other valve is definitely, you know, doing the right thing, but I might actually leave it overnight because it's almost 5 o'clock, even though I started late. See, she's starting to move. I think I got it. What I did was I squirted this in there. That's mostly like old gas and some bit of oil. And now you can really hear it too. I'll get this whole area. And then I'll stuff some tissues in there before I wash it. Check this out. You can hear it. I started to hear it bang a little bit too. It's to tap it. Okay? That's going slow. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Super Clean, for helping out, Jessica. So we're going to start off with the regular Super Clean, right? The spray. And we're going to put some in here. And then we'll add a little bit of water in a minute. It's all nasty. But I want to go around first and just get here. We'll put it on spray, maybe. And get everything wet with Super Clean. And then we'll hit the foamy. I'll come back in a little bit, so just kind of, because the foamy, this wets everything down really well. A lot of times I like to use the hose. Right? I don't care if it goes in there. We don't care. We're gonna do we'll do the oil later. I got this guy too. Gave him a little bit of a hit with the wire wheel, and we'll finish cleaning up later. Get in there in that port. All right, we'll be back in a bit. And now, the Foamy. You guys remember Foamy? Foamy the squirrel with his crazy rants? I'll have to put a little cut to that. Yeah, we're gonna get it in there. We're gonna get it everywhere.
How come I can never get more than 2 years out of my phone before things stop working properly?
I'm gonna go eat.
Planned obsolescence? No kidding. It's like every year they release a new phone and slowly stop supporting their older models. The app stopped updating. The OS never gets an upgrade, and all we're left with is an antiquated 3-year-old time capsule of software antiquity.
Oh, I gotta put some...
And before you know it, Indiana Jones is chasing you down, yelling, "It belongs in a museum!" Because it's so old. It's a relic. And that was Indy's thing.
A little bit of water in the gas tank, and we'll be back.
Putting them in museums.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the films.
Good. All right. Speaking of obsolescence, no one wears tongs anymore.
I do, and go to hell. Yeah.
Gentle floss is not apparel, but apparently some of us see it that way. But I don't want to see it that way, so turn the other way so I cannot see your weird jiggly parts, man. Ow. Human body. Ugh.
I'm just gonna pass the hone in. So we'll start off with a little bit of two-stroke. It's not gonna require a lot. Let's get it all the way down. Just a light pass, a few. I want to try to remove a little bit of that aluminum deposition. It's probably from the piston. It's a very small amount. And I really need a ball hone, but this will work. First we'll just go the regular way. And we'll move it just slightly. Right, we need to put a crosshatch, but there's not enough, there's just not enough sweep to do that properly. But we can at least remove, one way to put a good crosshatch in is to go slow and try to get as much movement as you can, right? I'm getting some, it'll pick it up. We don't need a lot. You see it's already removed a lot of that stuff. Now we're a little slower. All right, we'll try and put a crosshatch in that. Now another way to do it too is we can take some sandpaper, very light gauge, and we can put it in there by hand and try to create a little bit of a crosshatch. Let me see what that looks like. That looks a lot better. And we'll flush everything out. Yeah, that's good. See? That got out some of the aluminum staining. Yeah, that's good. I got a little bit of a crosshatch in there. I'll bring you back. Yeah, and the glaze is gone. See, the other thing, what a lot of people don't talk about is you can glaze your cylinders. And there's a difference between the glaze and a mirror finish. I got the air compressor on, hold on. Okay, we're almost done. So what happens is a glaze will build up. It's like a polish, but it's a combination of the heat, the oil, the aluminum in this case, because it's not a steel sleeve, the steel of the rings, right? And it creates a kind of a mirror finish, but it's not. It's a glaze, and it will stop the rings from sealing well, and you're going to lose down on a lot of power. What we used to do is we would go with a very medium grit stones like I'm using now. Then sometimes we'd go a little bit finer, and then we would take some 800, 600 grit, 800 grit, and we'd go in there with the sandpaper, and we would kind of wrap it around the hone and drive the hone up and down a bunch of times, and then with the sand, polishing it up, and then we take the sandpaper and turn it around the other way and leave the grit in the cylinder wall and come back and go through it and make a pass. And that would make a very fine mirror finish with the crosshatch in the bottom of that. So you still have that crosshatch, but you got this sort of polish. But that's a polish, that's not a glaze. Glazing is weird, it's like donut glaze. So glazing is a weird thing, it's almost like a phenomenon. So these stones are getting a little bit beat, but we didn't get everywhere I wanted to get. So we're just going to go a little bit more. All right, and just keep it moving. There it goes, it's starting to wick it up. Nice and slow. You don't go fast with this. And you'll get a better crosshatch if you go slow. Just keep it moving in and out. I'm not going to get a 60-degree hatch, but I'll get... Yeah, it's coming nice. That should do it. Yeah, that's enough. Because there's going to be imperfections in the cylinder wall. It may have even gotten really hot and distorted the cylinder wall. And I can see some evidence of cylinder wall distortion. So it's not round anymore. And I have inside micrometers that I could measure that, but I don't do that for lawnmower engines. It's why, right? It's a lawnmower engine. It's not your race car. Use a bunch of white paper towels so that you can see if you're getting all of the debris out, right? And that's a combination of aluminum, the stone material, and also the glaze and the carbon. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good enough. We'll clean it out. This thing looks real good. I mean, I've seen worse, right, run well. So now we have a good chance. Another thing that this will do is it'll cause a bit of scuffing on the ring faces, because again, there's also issues on the ring face from having. Most likely it got hot, right? Because it's running out of lubrication. The lubrication that was in there, right, was so thick that it really couldn't lubricate anything when it was getting hot, and it caused it to gum. So this is one of the reasons why they tell you don't change your oil, just add it. And we'll talk about that towards the end. There is a little score right here. Now I can feel it. It's very small, but hopefully it doesn't cause a problem. All right, let me get you in close, and then we're going to get ready to put the head back on. See that? It's over there, all right? Let me try to hold it steady. If you catch the light right, there is a score right here. And it depends upon how you catch the light. There's a couple of them, but this one, that's the worst one. I can barely catch it with my fingernail now. You could remove it with the hone, but you just barely catch it. Now that could cause some problems. It was starting to score. We may have caught it in time. And there's another one up there. All right, let's find out. We're gonna sand this down. This is a nice big thick piece of steel. It's pretty flat, and it'll get rid of some more of this carbon. Which, can we see if I can just scrape some of that real quick, because it's gonna get into the paper. Yeah, it's on there good, this stuff. Let's try and get a little bit more of it off. All right, now that's 80 grit. Now, just go back and forth and we'll rotate. Keep it rotating, because I need a bigger sheet of paper, but these are just the ones that, you get for your DA. Work good, they stick right down. For most of what we do with small engines, it's perfect. See? And it's not particularly flat. Yeah, see it all? All right, that's not flat. This warped. Probably from the heat. All right, we're gonna work this for a little bit. All right, left kind of a bit of a mess, right? This is from the 80 grit. That looks good. Now we'll run the 220 grit on it just to get it polished up and cleaned up a little bit better. So I'll work this for a little bit. Just a little bit of pressure. Do that one more time. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah, you could just leave it at that, right? That looks great. But you see all the pitting in here and everything? It wasn't that flat, and then it started to leak and it damaged the material even more. So I'll work a little bit longer and we'll just get out a little bit more, but I have a gasket surface all the way around the fire ring area, right? There's definitely a gasket surface here. So I'll work a little bit longer and we'll be back. That looks good. Now you could make it perfect, but keep in mind there is no perfect. This is a flawed process on a flawed piece of material. If you wanted to do it right, you'd have to lock this into a machine and mill this down on a proper mill. All right, everything's nice and clean. I put a little heavyweight oil in here just to you know, move it around the cylinders and everything, so we have some lubrication when we go to start it. And I got a different, so here's our head. I got a different gasket. It's used, but it's a good one. It seems to be okay. And I put some very high heat aluminized paint on it. And so that's like 2,000 degree paint. So it's the same thing as like the copper spray a lot of people use from the former gasket people. I forget the name of that company. Anyway, let's install this. I cleaned up the bolts, and I also replaced the three of the bolts that were just all threads, like I showed you that originally. We'll use these somewhere else, but that might have caused a problem. Basically the same. A little longer, maybe a little too long, and then they put 2 washers on it because they were too long. So we use these for one of my projects, but you know, I just canned out a couple of motors, so pull the bolts off of them. I also keep some just because I like to do that. And now we'll assemble it, and we're just going to tighten it by hand, carefully, right? So let's pass a couple of bolts through. And just kind of carefully. Now if you feel any resistance on the threads, the bolts are clean and they're oiled, again, with a thick weight oil. You don't need anything else. You can put a no-seize on it and butter the whole bolt up, but we're not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this together. I'm going to hand tighten it lightly, and then we're going to spin the motor over and see if we've got compression. And if we've got compression, we'll come back and we'll torque everything down. So I'll be back in a bit.
A few moments later.
It's a cool old tool, right? Got this years ago, I think from my brother. Hey, Dave! Right? We like to go in slow, right? Make sure all the bolts kind of just snug a little bit. You don't want to cock the head or apply too much torque. Don't use a zip gun, right? Just these are the kind of things that, if you haven't done this before, I used to break a lot of bolts and stuff when I was young and first started, especially brass fittings and everything, and because you don't know how hard you'd go, how much force, right, you're applying to something until you have some experience with it. So you have to feel, and like I said, you want to make sure the threads are clean. Well, you know, there's no point in turning these things in with just your fingers. You can start them that way, but through this tool, I can tell how the threads feel. And I've said this many times, right? You don't torque ahead unless everything is clean, the threads are clean, right? The bolts are clean, because the shank of the bolt, right? The shoulder of the bolt, a lot of times that gets full of junk and oxidation, and that will affect the torque reading. So there's no point in torquing an engine. You're just going to torque a couple of bolts on there or check the torque after it's been run for years and everything is rotting into place. That's a useless endeavor. So now with this tool, I'm just going to feel it, right? And I'm just going to use a little bit of a, you know, cross pattern. And all I want to do is just get this sort of tightened up. And this will put a lot of inch pounds on here. This will be close to pretty much right on the money for my first torque sequence when I actually put the torque wrench on. It's come real close. Yeah, we just want to make sure that's on. It's not going to leak. There we go. Now we're just going to race around a little bit. That's real close to the actual torque rating we need. Just make sure everything is good. All right, and then we're going to spin it. That feels good. All right, let me mount this thing on properly. I'm going to buzz that down with my impact. All right, let's just give it a quick test. Now, if you don't have a compression tester, fear not, me lord, for the moon hangs low like a testicle in the sky. Oh my God, where did you guys remember where that came from? So fear not, right? Just put your thumb over it. I'm like full of these old quotes. Here, let me put this thumb over it. It fits better. You know, listen. Hear it? I'll get hot. Careful. Yeah, she got compression. Compression. All right, let's just put a gauge on it. I'll yell it out. We'll take a look in a minute. Hold on. Oh, hold on. It's yelling at me. Why is it doing that? Oh, 100 pounds at least. Yeah, easy. It's doing good. It's doing good. So we're done there, guys. All right, so let's torque it. I'm going to go up to about 205 inch-pounds. So let's see what we get, right? I'll just start any place. I'll hold it nice and firm. I think that's 205. That's good. That should be more than enough. See, that's already there. And that's already there. Like I said, it doesn't require much. I think it's 220. So what we'll do is we'll just go up a little bit because it's a used gasket. And I'm going to come up to maybe, let's see, where are we? Yeah, that should be good. That's about 220. I don't want to go any more than that, right? Okay. That's good. Oh yeah. And this is when you torque. Okay, we're all good to go. All right, let's put it back down. We got to do the ignition. So that's the solution, guys, to when you don't change the oil. They say don't change it, just add. And like I said, we'll talk about that at the end. But this is the solution. This is what can happen. Usually the motors just seize. This is a couple of days later, but this is, ooh, it stinks still, wait. Yeah, a little bit, it smells a little bit like gas. This is the muck that came out the first time, and that's just what little bit we added in, plus the gasoline. Now, manufacturers today claim that you don't have to change your oil, just add. And we'll talk a little bit about why that might be, what they're claiming. They're claiming that their manufacturing processes have gotten better, that in the old days that when they would cast these parts, that the casting process was not as good as it is now. And that may be true, that they've designed the engine with fewer shadowing areas. When I say shadowing, if there's a piece that's blocking an area in the casting, or maybe even blocking an area that in the cleaning process, where it could capture some of that sand and some of that material and metal and aluminum that's not quite stuck because it didn't really melt into the rest of the melted aluminum or iron or whatever. They're claiming that they've eliminated a lot of that and that the process is just cleaner overall, and that they've been able to hold a better quality control and in the cleaning process and the assembly process as well. So therefore there's less junk in the oil, because when the engine is assembled and started up for the first time, that junk is not in there. So if the junk isn't in there, you don't have to get it out. And in the old days, you needed to get it out. That was one of the recommendations they had, which was, depending upon the manufacturer, the engine series, maybe 100 hours, and like 100 hours if it was overhead valve, they'd want you to check your valves, do an oil change, that kind of stuff. There's no oil filter. So they would want you to dump the oil out after maybe 100 hours or less, a few hours, 10 hours in some cases. In other words, go cut your lawn when you're done, before you cut your lawn again, dump your oil and put fresh oil in. That simple practice, right, would eliminate a lot of the debris that would have been stuck in there, given to you by the manufacturer, right? That's their gift to you. So their gift to you now is to say, well, you don't have that problem anymore, right? Their gift to you now is what they're saying, not that they give you a better motor, really, but the design process and all the execution and cleanliness is better, and then you can just leave your filthy oil in there, right? Don't like I know people that don't flush their toilet, right? You save money and everything, and you save water, and all day long they just keep doing their business in the toilet and they don't flush it. And their theory is, I don't know what, but your toilet is going to get really dirty, right? By doing that. It's really no different here, right? Dirt is getting in. You're not ever taking it out. And maybe you'll add a little bit of oil in if you remember. I think some people, they just confuse the idea of don't change your oil, maybe don't even fill it, right? Don't ever check it. We'll back up a little bit here and we'll say that in defense of the manufacturer, right, most people don't change their oil, they don't check their oil, they don't look at their oil, they don't think about it. And that's the end of it. Okay, they run their machine until it dies, and then they wonder why. This thing's expensive. This is actually a little bit more pricey of a machine. So if you spend anywhere between $200 and $500 on your machine, and you're not going to change your oil, that's just crazy, right? Oil is still relatively inexpensive. It's a very easy thing to do, and most people don't change it. They don't check it. They don't add. Manufacturer thinking, well, you don't have to do any of that, and you've heard of planned obsolescence, right? Well, it's also planned destruction, right? It's a way of, they did this with the old cars too. Obama had that thing that came out where you can collect cash for clunkers and everything. It's a way of continuing to move product through. Either way, your engine is going to wear, whether it's from the original scenario that manufacturers had to deal with, or you had to deal with from the manufacturer, or this scenario. You really should still change your oil. Now, here's a last thought I want to put to you guys. In most of our experiences, right, you buy a new car or a new machine like this, it's a new engine, it shouldn't be using oil. If it's not leaking, it's not leaking out, all right? So adding more oil in, if it's not leaking out, I get it, like an old engine might leak a little bit more. An old engine in your car or whatever, gaskets go bad or whatever. If it's relatively new, for years and years and years, right, and season after season, it shouldn't leak. I mean, I redo a lot of these motors, and they're getting old, and they generally don't leak. They certainly don't leak enough to where you would ever really be adding a lot of oil in because it's leaking. If it's leaking that bad, there's something wrong with it, and it probably doesn't run anymore. Idea number one. Number two, right, is if it's a relatively new engine, it shouldn't burn oil. Right? If it's going to burn oil, it might burn over a couple of years, right? I mean, if you're not out there as a contractor and you're a homeowner, you're using it once a week for a handful of for the season, maybe several months out of the year, half the year, 6-7 months. If you're in a hotter climate, it might use more oil, right? But how much oil? Right? There's only about 24 ounces in these things, so that's less than a quart. So, I don't know, what's in a quart? Like, I forget. You guys write it down, right? I forget off the top of my head right now. So what is that? That's not a lot. In the containers that I have, it's like, it doesn't even go all the way up to the top. So how much oil could you be leaking and burning? So the whole concept of just add oil, oh my God, season after season, running a motor in the heat, in the filth, at 2 feet above the ground, and you're not checking your air filter, you're not changing your air filter, you're not checking your plug, you're not cleaning your plug, you're not replacing your plug, you're not dumping the oil, you're not cleaning out your gas tank, you're not lubricating anything. It's no wonder why I get these machines, and that's pretty much what I do, is clean everything and go through all of that. And I'll pay $10, $15, $20, and then I'll go and sell it for $1.50, $200, right? You guys could bypass all that. You're not sharpening your blade. You're wondering why the lawn looks like crap when you cut it. Then maybe you go get a blade and you put it on upside down. it used to be years ago, right? These are box stores like that sell this stuff now. I remember going to the hardware store or the lawn equipment place or whatever, and they'd sell you a machine. And if you wanted, when you bought a new machine, they'd give you a warranty for a little bit more money. And that included the first couple of oil changes for whatever the warranty period was, right? That extended warranty. So they made sure that after you used it, you had to bring it into them and for a tune-up and an oil change. That way you didn't void your warranty. But what does Depot do? Give you another one, maybe, whatever, right? And then it's the same scenario. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts, and that's what I understand to be the case, is that the manufacturers are claiming. Whatever they're claiming, this is a pretty decent machine, and go change your oil. I'll see you guys later. Thanks again, Archer's Garage.